prayers of our Divine Mother. Our Divine Mother says the most important is a steady, quiet endurance that does not allow any upsetting or depression to interfere with your progress. The sincerity of the aspiration is the assurance of the victory. With always our love and blessings, says our Divine Mother. Sri Aurobindo's Savitri, Book 6, The Book of Fate, Canto 2, The Way of Fate and the Problem of Pain, page 450. All things come to its ear, but nothing abides. All rose from the silence, all goes back to its hush. Its somnolence founded the universe, its obscure waking makes the world seem vain. Arisen from nothingness and towards nothingness turned, its dark and potent nescience was earth's start. It is the waste stuff from which all was made. Into its deeps, creation can collapse. Its opposition clogs the march of the soul. It is the mother of our ignorance. He must call light into its dark abysms, else never can truth conquer matter's sleep, and all earth look into the eyes of God. All things obscure his knowledge must relume, all things perverse his power must unknot. He must pass to the other shore of falsehood's sea. He must enter the world's dark to bring their light. The heart of evil must be bared to his eyes. He must learn its cosmic dark necessity, its right and its dire roots in nature's soil. He must know the thought that moves the demon act and justifies the titan's erring pride, and the falsehood lurking in earth's crooked dreams. He must enter the eternity of night and know God's darkness as he knows his sun. For this, he must go down into the pit. For this, he must invade the dolorous vast, imperishable, and wise and infinite, he still must travel hell, the world to save. Into the eternal light he shall emerge on borders of the meeting of all worlds. There, on the verge of nature's summit steps, the secret law of each thing is fulfilled. All contraries heal their long dissidence. Words of our Lord Sri Aurobindo and our Divine Mother taken from the compilations of the works of our Lord and our Divine Mother, book Looking from Within. Topic: Inner State and Outer Circumstances. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, what we have within us creates the circumstances outside us. Our Divine Mother says, always circumstances come to reveal the hidden weaknesses that have to be overcome. And Lord Sri Aurobindo says, when one does sadhana, it is constantly seen that so long as there is an important defect somewhere, circumstances so happen that the occasion comes from the defect to rise until it is thrown out of the being. If one can take the coming of these circumstances clairvoyantly as a call and an opportunity for conquering the defect, then one can progress very quickly. And Lord Sri Aurobindo says, when the soul is meant to go forward and there's an external weakness, circumstances do come to help the external being against itself. There must be a truly sincere aspiration behind, otherwise, it does not happen. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, when someone is destined for the path, when someone is destined for the path, all circumstances, through all the deviations of mind and life, help in one way or another to lead him to it. It is his own psychic being within him and the divine power above that use to that end the vicissitudes both of mind and outward circumstance. Our Divine Mother says, if you are in a state of conscious aspiration, very sincere, well, everything around you will be arranged in order to help you in your aspiration, whether directly or indirectly. That is, either to make you progress, put in touch with something new, or to eliminate from your nature something that has to disappear. This is something quite remarkable. Our Divine Mother says, if you are truly in a state of intensity of aspiration, there is not a circumstance which does not come to help you to realize this aspiration. Everything comes, everything, as though they were a perfect and absolute consciousness, organizing around you all things, and you yourself in your outer ignorance may not recognize it and may protest at first against the circumstances as they show themselves, may complain, may try to change them, but after a while, when you have become wiser, and there is a certain distance between you and the event, well, you will realize that it was just what you needed to do to make the necessary progress. And it is a will, a supreme good will, which arranges all things around you, and even when you complain and protest instead of accepting, it is exactly at such moments that it acts most effectively. Our Divine Mother says, if you say to the Divine with conviction, I want only you. If you say to the Divine with conviction, I want only you, the Divine will arrange all the circumstances in such a way as to compel you to be sincere. Something in the being says, I want only you. The aspiration, and then one wants 100 odd things all the time. Isn't that so? At times, something comes, just usually to disturb everything. It stands in the way and prevents you from realizing your aspiration. Well, the divine will come without showing himself. The divine will come without showing himself, without your seeing him, without your having any inkling of it. And he will arrange all the circumstances in such a way that everything that prevents you from belonging solely to the divine will be removed from your path inevitably. Our Divine Mother says, then when all is removed, you begin to haul and complain, but later, if you are sincere and look at yourself straight in the eye, you have said to the Lord, you have said, I want only you. He will remain close to you, and all the rest will go away. This is indeed a higher grace. This is indeed a higher grace. Only you must say this with conviction. I don't even mean that you must say it integrally, because if one says it integrally, the work is done. What is necessary is that one part of the being, indeed the central will, says it with conviction, I want only you, even once, and it suffices. All that takes more or less long. Sometimes it stretches over years, but one reaches the goal. But one has all kinds of imperfections. Says one of the child for this, our Divine Mother says, the more the imperfections, the longer it takes. The more the attachments one has, the longer it takes. But the goal is sure, says our Divine Mother. Next subtopic, the meaning of circumstances by our Lord Sri Aurobindo. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says it is quite obvious that this world is full of suffering and afflicted with transience to a degree that seems to justify the Gita's description of it as this unhappy and transient world, anityam asukham. The question is whether it is a mere creation of chance or governed by a mechanical, inconscient law, or whether there is a meaning in it and something beyond its present appearance towards which we move. If there is a meaning and if there is something towards which things are evolving, then inevitably there must be a guidance. That means that a supporting consciousness and will is there with which we can come into inner contact. If there is such a consciousness and will, it is not likely that it would stultify itself by annulling the world's meaning or turning it into a perpetual or eventual failure. This world has a double aspect. It seems to be based on material inconscience and an ignorant mind and life full of that inconscience, error and sorrow, death and suffering are the necessary consequences. But there is evidently, too, a partial successful endeavor and an imperfect growth towards light, knowledge, truth, good, happiness, harmony, beauty, at least a partial flowering of these things. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, the meaning of this world must evidently lie in this opposition. It must be an evolution which is leading or struggling towards higher things out of a first darker appearance. Whatever guidance there is must be given under these conditions of opposition and struggle and must be leading towards that higher state of things. It is leading the individual, certainly, and the world towards the higher state, but through the double terms of knowledge and ignorance, light and darkness, death and life, pain and pleasure, happiness and suffering, and none of the terms can be excluded until the higher status is reached and established. And Lord Sri Aurobindo says it is not and cannot be a guidance which at once rejects the darker terms, still less a guidance which brings us solely always nothing but happiness, success, and good fortune. Its main concern is with the growth of our being and consciousness, the growth towards a higher self, towards the divine, eventually towards a higher light, truth, and bliss. The rest is secondary, sometimes a means, sometimes a result, not a primary purpose. And Lord Sri Aurobindo says, the true sense of guidance becomes clearer when we can go deep within. When we can go deep within and see from there more intimately the play of the forces and receive intimations of the will behind them. The surface mind can get only an imperfect glimpse. When we are in contact with the divine or in contact with an inner knowledge and vision, we begin to see all the circumstances of our life in a new light and can observe how they all tended without our knowing it towards the growth of our being and consciousness, towards the work we had to do, towards some development that had to be made, not only what seemed good or fortunate or successful, but also the struggles, failure, difficulties, upheavals. But with each person, the guidance works differently according to his nature, the conditions of his life, his caste of consciousness, his stage of development, his need of further experiences. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, we are not automata but conscious beings, and our mentality, our will and its decisions, our attitude to life and demand on it, our motives and moments help to determine our course. They may lead to much suffering and evil, but through it all, the guidance makes use of them for our growth in experience and consequently the development of our being and consciousness. When we are in close, all advance by however devious ways, even in spite of what seems a going backwards or going astray, gathering whatever experience is necessary for the soul's destiny. When you are in close contact with the divine, a protection can come which helps or directly guides or moves us. It does not throw aside all difficulties or sufferings or dangers. It does not throw aside all difficulties, sufferings, or dangers, but it carries us through them and out of them, except where for a special purpose there is the need of the opposite says our Lord Sri Aurobindo. Prayers and Meditations, May 28, 1914. Thou settest in motion, thou stirrest and churnest the innumerable elements of this world, so that from their primal darkness, their primeval chaos, they may awaken to consciousness and the full light of knowledge. And thou usest thy supreme love to churn all these elements in this way, and it is from thy infinite, unfathomable heart that these inexhaustible torrents of love spring forth. Thy heart is my dwelling place. Thy heart is the reality of my being. In thy heart I have nestled, and I have become thy heart. Peace, peace upon all beings.